Hello, it's Tom from BlackToad Studio, and it's that time of year again for some Chaos versus Imperium Apocalypse. Of course, this time round though, we have the new Apocalypse rules, so we're going to have a game using them and see how we get on with it. So I'm just going to go over my army, which is predominantly Black Templars with a few Imperial units mixed in. So obviously, in the new rule set, we kind of build things by detachments. So I'm just going to go through the detachments I've bought for this Apocalypse game. So down here, the first detachment we have is a battalion detachment. In here we've got basically some Crusader squads, or we've got a couple there. We've got some Stern Guard squads here, some Vanguard, a couple of Intercessor squads, some Centurion Devastators to fill out one of the heavy allowed slots in there, along with some Hellblasters. And the two HQ units I've popped in there is a Graves Captain and also a Chaplain with Jump Pack. And then we're going to move on to some of the other more interesting ones. So over here we have a Spearhead detachment, and this consists of a Relic Leviathan Dreadnought along with 3 Land Raiders. We've got 2 Crusaders and 1 normal, and then we also have 2 Predators, 1 all with las cannons, 1 all with bolt weaponry or auto cannons. And then we shift over for the next detachment, which in this case is a Vanguard. We have 2 Reaver squads, and also as a Primaris Lieutenant there, acting as HQ for this detachment. Then we have 4 more Dreadnoughts. We have Diradio, Ironclad, Relic Contemptor, and another Ironclad. And then moving over to the central bit here, we have another Vanguard detachment led by a Primaris Lieutenant. We've got a Venerable Dreadnought and 3 normal Dreadnoughts. And then another Vanguard detachment. This is actually a Terminator one here, so we're led by a Terminator Chaplain here, along with 3 different types of Terminator squads. So we have a Assault one here, we have a normal one here with 2 heavy weapon upgrades, and also we have a Tartarus 5-man squad there as well, just to round that out. And then we're going to we've got a couple of auxiliaries here. We have a Relic Spartan in one auxiliary slot. We also have a Storm Sword in another auxiliary spot. We then have a super heavy detachment consisting of 3 Imperial Knights. We've got a Paladin, Errant, and a Crusader. Only the, I think it's the Crusader here, has the top sponson weapon there. And then finally, we have an Air Wing detachment, which consists of 2 Storm Talons and my Castus Assault Ram. Now, that looks all pretty good. Nice size army here. A few things left out, but because we were trying to get used to how the points work. One other thing I need to add is that we decided to use Battle Scribe for the power level points. So I have a suspicion, having looked at the data cards a bit more thoroughly, some of the points might be a bit out, but we have both use the same source, so hopefully it will end up in a kind of at least a vaguely even style of game. But anyway, without further ado, we'll move over to see what Dom has bought for his Wordbearers force to face down the Templars.
This is Dom from BlackToad Studios, and here is my 500 power level Chaos force, mainly consisting of the Wordbearers of the 83rd War Host. This is an absolutely epic force, which I'll run through with you now. But yeah, it's taking this whole board up here. It's massive. So we're going to start off with the non-word bearers part of the army. So over here we've got a battalion of World Eaters. So we've got 3 squads of Berserkers there. We have got Khan the Betrayer, of course. We have got a Warpsmith there. 3 Defilers. Behind them we've got 2 super heavy auxiliaries. One with a Lord of Skulls, one with the Khitan there. Then moving along here, we've got 3 Chaos Knights here. So as you can see here, we've got the Melter, combat version, Avenger Gatler and rapid fire battle cannon on that one there. Down here we have got the 1st Battalion, led down here by the Dark Apostle. He's joined here by an Exalted Champion with Power Axe and Combi Melter. There we've got the Master of Possession there. And then we have got 4 squads of cultists. So we've got 1 squad here of 20, 1 squad here of 30. They're the combat squads. And then 2 squads of 20 behind with auto guns. We've got a Vindicator here, the Sakaran with heavy bolted sponsons, a Mauler Fiend with magma cutters, and a Venom Crawler there. And that is 1 battalion. Moving over here, we've then got a Vanguard with 5 Chaos Terminators here, with Power Fists and Combi Bolters, 1 Reaper there. Over here we have got 3 Mutilators and a Chaos Lord with a Power Sword and Plasma Pistol. These squads are mounted up inside these Land Raiders, Behind here we've got 10 rubric marines with warp flamers in the Rhino. We have then got 7 plague marines with a assortment of weapons, so a couple of plasma guns in there and a plasma pistol. That'll be rocking up in this Rhino. They're joined here by an exalted champion with a power fist and a combi bolter. That's the Vanguard. So down here we've got another battalion. Starting at the front here, we've got a Chaos Lord in Terminator armour with dual lightning claws there. Next to him we've got 2 winged demon princes. We've got a chosen squad here of 9 with 3 plasma guns, a heavy bolter and a plasma pistol. Then we have a squad of 6 here with 4 plasma guns and a combi plasma on the champion there. We've got 2 squads of Chaos Space Marines with a melter gun and a plasma pistol in both. We've got a squad of 5 here with a plasma pistol. Another squad of 10 at the back there with 2 flamers. And 2 Helldrakes there. And that is another battalion. And finally at the rear here we have got a Outrider detachment here. We've got a big squad of Raptors there. We've got 2 melter guns in there and a Icon of Excess. We've got 2 squads of 5 with 2 melter guns in each and plasma pistols on the champions. 3 squads of Warp Talons at the back there. We've got the Vulture there, plasma pistol, Chaos Lord, jump pack, and we've got a Sorcerer there in Terminator armour. And that is my force of 500 power level. Very epic army, I'm sure you'll agree. Now let's have a look at the battlefield and the mission that we are going to be playing today.
Okay, and welcome to the start of this Apocalypse game. We have now deployed both of our massive armies here. And essentially in the roll-off phase, Dom got to choose to be attacker. So it meant he put his first unit down and then we alternated and then we ended up in this particular situation we have here. So as you can see, both armies have deployed either side of the long edges of the board. We are playing a mission called Meat Grinder, which as it says, it's all about sort of deploying quite close to each other and having at it, which is probably quite a good game for our first Apocalypse game using the new rules. So obviously any mistakes in this, please bear with us. We are learning this today because we haven't actually had a pre-game. Just to quickly go through detachments and commanders, because obviously as you can see down here for this one here, there's a little marker down there that designates this particular character as the commander of the detachment that he's nearby. So anything with 12 inches gains his leadership properly. So we've got obviously got one detachment sitting on the right here. I think we've got the Knight detachment down here. So
yeah, so you've got the Knights, the 3 Knights there.
Yep.
You've got the Vanguard
there.
behind there. Then we've got the World Eater one down here. So Khan is the head of this
so he's very good leadership.
Yeah, and his leadership skills are uncanny. And down here you've got Dog
Another one hiding in there.
He's in charge of that one there.
Yeah.
And in reserve we've got the Raptors and the Warp Talons and the Vulture.
And so essentially the reason why it's important to know where the commanders are, because each commander that is also a character becomes a warlord, and that generates additional command assets from your deck each turn. So moving over to this side of the ball where I am, we have the Spartan over here in his own detachment, and we have a little Vanguard down here, done by the Primaris captain there, Lieutenant, sorry, pardon me. We have my battalion detachment in the middle here, led by the captain right in the middle. We've got our 3 Knights there, obviously that Knight's taken the lead in this one. And we have a Spearhead sitting at the back here with the Leviathan taking the leadership role. We have the Air Wing with the Castus taking the leadership role, and then finally over here to the left we have a Vanguard of Dreadnoughts and also a Storm Sword coming in there to finish that off. So I think what we're going to do now is we're going to head on and do some initiative stuff, and then we're going to come back as we start off the first turn. So we're back in a moment. Okay, so here we are in the first turn of this Apocalypse game, and Dom is about to activate his first unit, which I believe is over this way.
I'm going to pick the Knights.
So he is rolled over and advance. Fight. It is advance, isn't it? No, it's fight. Okay, so here we go in the first turn, and Dom is activating his first unit.
It's going to be this super heavy detachment.
Surprise, surprise, he is assaulting with his super heavies, and I believe you have a command asset as well.
I'm going to put Hungry for Battle, so you pick 3 Knights in the detachment and they get free movement.
So, that gives them about 36-inch movement.
Yes, it does indeed give them 36-inch movement.
So I think my front line is no longer my front line. It is now. It's going to be a joint line with which people fight.
Indeed.
So first of all, I think you've got to move your stuff.
Move it 12 and then do the extra movement here.
So we'll just get these moved. So.
Yeah, so move 12 here, just short of these rocks. There we go. Hang up. Loving life.
Oh, this is going to be painful. Then, of course, you get your assault move after that. So
Yes, I get the 24 inches because of the assault move there.
Oh, wow.
So I'm going to move these off camera because I'm going to fall over.
That is fair enough. We'll be back in a minute as we prepare for the assault phase. Okay, so obviously the knights definitely made it into combat. We're now going to be going with this despoiler here, going into here. It's got, no, is it 4 attacks?
4 attacks, hitting on twos because it's got both the combat weapons there.
So here we go.
So
oh, dearie me.
Nice. And then I will be using the gauntlet there. So against armour, it's a 5+.
5 up on D12s. So just the one.
No.
So I'm just going to put the damage marker down and we'll be right back. Okay, so damage-wise, obviously we've got one large blast marker there because the destroyer weapon basically converts it to a large marker.
Yep.
So we're now going to do...
so this one, using his chainsaw against that one
there.
as well. So
there we go.
there's 4 attacks, hitting on freeze on this one. So it's 3 hits. That's pretty good going, I think. And then we need 6s.
Oh, a little bit less damage this time. That's good.
Hopefully. One more, and that's also a destroyer. So
that's another large blast marker on there in a second.
One on that one.
And then did you want to...
And then finally we'll do the last one.
So
he's got no combat
over here.
such except for his big stompy feet. So we need, once again, freeze. So there we go. And then we need 7s.
Oh, 7s. Okay, that's interesting.
Stompy feet not so good against tanks.
No, that's fair enough.
But
so you still got 3.
Boom. But that's just destroyers.
So that's going to be one large blast marker and one small. So I'm just going to put those markers down and then we're going to move on to my first activation.
Right, so next up we've seen the knights get into combat there. Now Tom is activating over here and he's gone for advance on his Spartan here. So very interesting
I'm going to move
move.
this as well because I'm feeling brave. And I can get to shoot after doing this as well. So we're going to do this.
Okay.
That way.
Right, so very close to the chaos lines here. Who knows what we had? Right, okay, and you're doing a shooting attack.
I am, yeah, and I'm actually going to shoot that Mauler Fiend.
Mauler Fiend down here. Probably a good choice. Very close target there.
Essentially, I'm going to use the 2 quad las cannons on it, and the heavy bolt is going to fire at that cultist squad.
Okay.
So the quad las cannons basically got 2 shots each, so 4 in total because I've got 2.
Nice. Okay, so 4 shots on the quad las cannons.
We're hitting on 3s.
Yep. Okay, so that's 2 hits there. Very nice. And against tanks?
Against tanks, it's actually a 3 up.
Wow, that is pretty impressive on these things.
So we've got 2.
Yep.
Leaving 3 ups.
Come on, 1s and 2s. Show yourselves.
No.
No, so they've both gone through there.
Yeah,
so we'll put a large blast marker on the Mauler Fiend.
The heavy bolter, essentially, twin heavy bolter, I should say, gets 2 attacks as well.
Yep.
This is going at this cultist unit here.
Yep.
Hitting on 3s again.
Okay, so 1 hit there. And against infantry?
Infantry for that is, oh Christ, it's still a 7 up.
7 up.
Those cultists seem to be getting there.
Cultists are pretty tough. Maybe Apocalypse is where cultists are coming through.
Not today, sir.
So we'll get a small blast against the cultist squad here. There we go. And that's that. Right, let's move on to the next bit of activation.
So next we're getting this Vanguard attachment over here being activated.
Ooh, shooting!
Surprise, surprise, there's a shooting one.
Yep, and we're going to try and target that knight that is not in combat.
Oh, the one hiding at the back, I see.
Yeah, that one there.
Don't want to let my knights do anything, do you? I see.
If the heavy bolts can reach, they can fire as well, but I don't know if they can.
I'll see what the distance is.
Oh, no, they can.
They can.
Yeah, so 2 twin heavy bolters and the las cannons all going to fire.
All firing at it. Okay.
All firing. So they've got 4 shots in each of the las cannons.
So we're doing 4 las cannon shots here.
Yeah, so hitting on 2s because we've got the shooty thing.
So all have hit.
Very nice. Let me grab some dice. And we are doing a 5 up on these.
That's pretty good.
So there we go, 3.
3. So we've got 3 small, one large and 1 small going on there.
Right, and so we're going to do the las cannons from the other one as well, while we're at it.
Oh blimey.
Right, so that's 3. I'm going to use one of my assets to re-roll that dice.
Oh, you're going to use a useless one, I take it?
Yeah, one of my useless ones that I've gained. So that one there, we're going to get rid of that. So get rid of that.
So they've all hit.
They've all hit again.
Needing 5s again, yeah?
5s again.
2.
That's 2.
Oh, man.
So that's 2 large blasts and 1 small.
Yes, 2 large, 1 small.
Finally, the heavy bolters.
Because why not?
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to fire both of them, so that's 4 shots. So they all hit. Because the 2 we need, and then against armour, it's a 9.
A 9, okay.
Right, here we go. Oh, there we go. So that's 2.
3.
2.
Oh,
yeah,
2. Sorry, that's the 6. Sorry, pardon me.
Nice.
Another
that's
2.
3 large blasts
And 1 small. So 3 large, 1 small. Okay, I'm going to put that damage on. I'll be back in a second.
Right, so coming over to this flank after the las cannons into the knights.
This is a vanguard attachment.
Oh,
and
so and then advance with the dreadnoughts.
So
interesting.
Just get that out of the way, and then we're going to move these all 6 inches.
Yep.
As per the rules. So luckily, everything in the attachment has got the same movement, which makes it a bit easier.
Yep. There we go, and lieutenant
just going to sneak
just
up
behind there. Well,
yeah, so the lieutenant's actually giving a reroll wounds of 1 as well, actually.
Oh, very nice. And what will you be firing?
I'm going to fire everything at the Khitan.
What?
So,
how dare you?
I'll need a couple of seconds to get those dice together.
Okay, so we'll come back in a moment with some dice rolling from Tom. So we're going to start up here with the 3 standard dreadnoughts, 2 of which have assault cannons and 1 has got a melter.
So essentially the assault cannons get 4 attacks in total, so 2 each.
Yep.
And we're hitting on 3s.
Very nice. Here we go. So hitting on 3s, that's 2.
2. And then the assault cannon on a tank target is an 8+.
Okay, so we need 2 8s here. Hopefully not going to happen. 7 and an 8. So 1 has got through there. So 1 small blast, and then we've got the melter.
The multi-melter.
Yep.
Which is 24 inch range, obviously. So it's in range, and we're going to. Yep, that is a hit.
Yep. And against tanks.
4s.
4s on a D12. So far we got. There we go.
11.
Whew.
So that is a nice blast mark on there, I think. Yeah. So
nice. And then we've got the venerable dreadnought as well.
Yeah, which has got, it's basically got the twin las cannons. So that's 2 shots.
Yep. Hitting on
2s.
2s. So nice. Very nice.
And this is wounding on, I believe, 5s. Yes.
Yep. Right. Okay. So 2 more as well. Wow. Fair bit of damage handed out there. So we're going to put some blast markers on and move on to the next bit of activation. Okay.
So as we kick off another activation here, we've got the Khitan.
Who is? It's going to be.
Oh, what a shock!
Right. So let's see if we can get into combat with some dreadnoughts.
Yes.
So it's going to be a 26 inch, which I think somehow, yeah,
oh, look.
be in there. So here we go. We're going to move in.
Him and his bloody meat cleaver.
Here he comes.
So how many are you going to get in there?
Yeah, we're going to get 2. Yeah,
That's fair
2
enough.
into combat.
2's good.
That one.
Okay.
So I'll put that there. And we'll do some attacks,
okay.
I believe, which will probably be quite helpful.
Yes.
In a long run situation. So here we go. So we've got 4 attacks. We're hitting on 3s.
So 3s for this?
Yep. Okay, so
2. Okay, so the Khitan obviously made its way into attack over here. We're just going to do the attacks. We've got 4 attacks. Where are they going?
So 2 on the multi-melter, hitting on 3s.
So 1 hit.
And 2 on the assault cannon, hitting on 3s. So 2 on the assault cannon and 1 on the multi-melter.
I guess you're wounding quite easily.
5 up.
Oh, so only a 5 up. Interesting.
5 up, but it's a destroyer.
Oh, okay.
So here we go. The 1 against the multi-melter. Yep.
Yeah. So
and the 2 against the assault cannon.
Double large. So 2 large
on the assault cannon, 1 large on the multi-melter.
Have you got any more weapons with him at all, or is that him done?
It.
Okay, so we'll be back in a moment.
Right, okay, so you see the battlefield's kind of lighting up everywhere. Small fights appearing. Very obvious ones here with the knights. Down here we've got the Khitan. It's just charged into these dreadnoughts. Damaged everywhere. And now it's time for Tom to activate on these flyer wing.
We're going to go with a flyer here, so it's an advance, so it's a move and shoot.
Nice, okay, and where are you planning on going?
My intended target is the Lord of Skulls.
Right, okay.
So I think it might be best if we cut back to it in a minute.
Yeah. Tom is notoriously clumsy and there'll be models everywhere. So Tom's going to move them, but we're going to have a little panoramic around here on the battlefield here. It's looking very epic. I mean, it's turn 1 and already there's fights. So far, my opinion is I quite like Apocalypse. But of course, we've got a lot of turns to go and we're going to find out what I think of it at the end. So let's see what Tom can do with these. So now we're going to start a bit of firepower coming into the Lord of Skulls here. Obviously Tom knows this is a massive threat. It's also a massive target.
It's a massive target and I've got a hit.
Yeah,
so
okay.
We'll start with the las cannons off this one.
Yeah, so las cannons firing in here. So
2 shots, hitting on 3s.
Yep, so 2 hits there. And against tanks,
we need 5s.
5s, here we go. So that's one so far, 1 small one.
One small blast one. And then I'm also going to fire the twin assault cannons from it as well. So that's actually, it's the same as a normal one, but it's 4 shots.
Okay. So 4 assault cannon shots here from the Talon. Okay, so that's 3 of hit. And against tanks, it's an 8. All right, so it's a little bit harder. Okay, so that's 1, 2. So it's one large now and one small.
One small.
Blast on there.
Then we're going to move on to the other storm talon over there.
Oh dear, right, okay, so almost I'll rinse and repeat to a degree here. So we've got the assault cannon at the front here.
Yep, assault cannon, so 4 shots of that again.
Yep. Okay, so that's 3 hits. And then it was 8, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's
just the 1.
Yeah, okay, so there's 2 large blasts now on the Lord of Skulls.
We have a Typhoon missile launcher there, which is 2 shots as well. So hitting on 3s again, so both hit.
Yep, both hit.
And this actually, I think, needs 7s. Yeah, needs 7s.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes.
Wow, nice. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so that's 3 large blasts on the Lord of Skulls. And then finally,
the middle one.
The big guy. He's coming in here.
He might do something.
He might.
He never does anything normally.
No.
But we'll see.
He may do something.
So we've got 2 shots from the twin magma melter, hitting on 3s.
Okay.
He does 1 hit.
1 hit. Ooh.
This is winning on a 3 up.
Oh, okay. Can Tom mount this up? No,
yes.
There we go. Okay. Okay, that's good.
Another blast marker.
Yep.
And then we find the last one, we've got a Skyfire missiles, a Hellfire missile, sorry, on the side. It's just 1 shot, hitting on a 3. Yep.
And that's a hit there.
And I believe it needed an 8. I'll just double check while I'm rolling that. It doesn't matter anyway.
No, that is a 6.
7 actually.
Yeah, needs it. Okay. Right, there we go. So that's all firepower. That's pretty incredible. Right, let's move on to the next bit of damage. Or activation even, sorry.
Okay, so we got another activation on turn 1 over here. So Dom's about to turn over this battalion over here. And advance.
Yeah,
and
I've got a lot of stuff to do, so I might be a minute. I might have to come back to this.
I think we'll just cut here and come back when Dom's moved. Although he is using the fancy movement trays down there, so hopefully it won't take as long.
I'm going to glide.
You're going to glide across the table. Okay, so we elected to just resolve these attacks off camera because there was quite a lot of different profiles to get through. So essentially, this entire battalion and anything that was in range of the Spartan decided to actually fire at it. So obviously everything you can see here currently. So we've got the Maul of Fiends, the Vindicator, all of these cultists that were in range. The Venom Crawler, that's correct.
Venom Crawler tried.
And the Sicarian here, fired on here. And I think if I just double check how many we got here, I think it was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, 6 large blast tokens in total. Yeah. So that's pretty damaging on the Spartan. Well, we don't know actually. It might not be.
Who knows?
I mean, with a bit of hope, it won't be. I know Don was hoping the opposite, but hey ho. So anyway, that's that particular activation. So it's now my turn for activation. So we'll be back in a second.
So Tom, in his activation, has decided to play Orbital Strike here. And on this little marker here, represents where his commander can see from across the battlefield over there. And he's targeting this squad here. So within 6 inches of this point, anything over 7+.
So yeah, 7 to 10.
7 to 10 takes a small one, and a 11 to 12 takes a large one. So Tom, do you want to start rolling?
I will point as we go. So this chap.
Yep.
Oh, I'll just do it down here so you can see.
No,
the guy behind him.
Dark Gods Protect. Okay, so he takes 1 small blast on the Exalted Champion there. On the Master of Possession. Yep, it's a small one on that one there. Okay, so this cultist squad behind. There's 1 squad here. Yep.
So if I just do this,
no, they're fine. There's Karen. It's small blast marker on the Sicarian.
So I'll put that on there.
The cultist squad.
Yeah.
No. The Vindicator. No. The cultist squad in front. No. The Venom Crawler.
Yeah, I'm going to get 11 on the Venom Crawler.
I don't think you are, Thomas. So it's a small.
Oh, well.
And that is it.
Near enough, yes.
So there's a fair few counters going around there. Right, okay, let's see what else he's been doing. So over here, Tom has selected this big blob of Marines to activate this squad, which is an advance. Right, so Tom is going to be moving some Marines, and we'll come back at the end of this activation to see what he's done. Right, so at the end of that turn, all that shooting came in. It's caused 2 large blasts on this large squad of cultists here, and created a bit more damage on the Lord of Skulls there from the Hellblasters at the back there. They concentrated fire and did a bit of damage on there. So let's see what I'm going to activate next. Right, so my next activation here will be on the Lord of Skulls there, and we've got General Advance. Right, okay, so I'm going to move him and then see what we can do.
Okay, here we go. So
I'm going to fire the Gore Storm onto that one. So it's 2 shots. Hitting them.
They already hit.
Hits. Yep.
So you do D12s.
I'm making it instead of 5, this one. Ah,
No, oh, none. Oh, what a shame.
No,
I'm so devastated.
Yeah, and then the Ghorstorm, sorry, the Skull Hurler.
Yeah.
I'm going to target your captain.
So the captain in the middle
Wherever he
there.
is,
So you're going to need, you got -1 to hit on that.
Yeah, okay, so I'm hitting on 4s. Hit.
Hits, yeah.
And then
Oh,
against
no.
it's a 4 up.
No.
Oh, no, it's a 3 up.
A
Sorry.
3 up. Oh, God.
Here comes a 1. I
No,
know I did it.
so is
So
that-
one small blast mark
So
up
that
on.
is going on. There we go. Is that all
Getting
the
there.
shooting for him?
That's all the shooting. Yeah, he's more of a combat person or blowy uppy.
Or blow up? Hopefully he blows. Oh, actually, I hope he doesn't blow up now.
Yeah.
But obviously we'll see. So it's now my turn for activation again.
Yep.
So we're back in a second.
Oh. All right, so after that, we then come over to this one here, and Tom's going to activate it. What is it, Tom? General advance on this one. Right, so let's let Tom move his stuff and shoot some bits and come back and see what he's done. Right, so the end of that activation there, the Dreadnoughts picking their targets, did a bit of damage onto this one with the Contemptor, putting one small blast on there. Deradio, however, put a large blast onto this squad of cultists here, so potential bit of damage coming in there. Right, let's move on to my bit of activation.
Okay, for Dom's activation, we're going for this, well, Corn detachment, I should say.
Yeah, the World Eaters.
So assault time.
Yeah.
So we're going to get them all moved. We'll be back in a second to see where they've ended up on the board.
Yeah.
We were just discussing being in range of the commander there, and Dom was thankful for my caring that he might have been out of range or in range. So, but it looks like he is. Anyway, moving on to where these units ended up. As you can see, they've made a very good charge roll up here. Well, not a roll, but they've got to move double the distance. So they filled into these gaps here, and obviously this Defiler was very close to making it into combat. I'm very glad he didn't. I think that would have been quite painful for them. So anyway, that's the end of that particular action phase. We're going to move on to my one next, and I think I've got a few more to go, and then we'll be ending this turn soon.
It's coming over here now, and Tom is going to activate this one. So it's an advance. So where can he go and what can he do? Right, let's find out. Right, so this detachment here kind of shimmied along somewhat. Firing coming across, lots of short-range fire, unfortunately. But we've got a large blast and a small blast onto this Defiler, coming in from the firepower on this flank here. Land Raider here fired through and into that Land Raider over there, doing a large blast there. So, time for Chaos to retaliate with their last detachment.
Okay, so as we kick off the next activation, Dom is activating this detachment here, and it is an advance, and that is a shocker.
Here we go.
So I think I might just put the pressure on and just watch the whole thing. So, no, he's incapable of acting under camera. So we'll let him move the stuff and we'll come back in a minute. Okay, so obviously this detachment have moved up here. The two Drakes here managed to fire over and do a large and small blast damage to the Storm Talon there. However, everything else fired around in various locations. I think only thing was one did add that small blaster on there, but other than that, nothing else has happened. So I believe that was your last activation, Dom.
It is.
So I've got a couple more to go, so we'll just get on with them and we're back in a moment.
Right, so last bit of activation in this turn. No, right, okay, so Tom's going to be shooting this beastie at...
Well, we're going to fire the main cannon at the right-hand Helldrake.
Boop, 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 boop.
Two last cannons at the left-hand Helldrake with the twin heavy bolts as well there.
Oh, nice. Okay, right, so you want to start on the right one?
Yeah, so that's going to the Storm Sword, which actually has 6 shots, believe it or not.
6 shots.
Which is quite a lot in this particular setup. So we're hitting on, well, actually we're normally hitting on 4s, but we're going to be hitting on 3s.
Yep.
+1.
Yep. Right, okay, so...
Just the 3.
Yeah, it's just 3 as we need.
And against tanks, it's a 7-up.
Oh, okay.
It is a bit more of a... So
1. So is that just a small blast?
Right, it does have a siege weapon special rule. I'll come back and check that in a minute.
Okay.
Fine. So we'll now do 2 las cannons at the left-hand one.
Yep.
So needing... Yep, they both hit.
Both hit.
Needing
5s. We're getting there. We're getting there with the rules.
Both.
So 1 large on the left one and the heavy bolter.
Twin heavy bolter, so doing 2 shots that. 1 hit.
Yep.
And 1 more.
There you go. So a large and a small on the left, and we'll find out about the right one. Right, so the Chaos are all done now. So the last activation is for the Imperial forces here, and Tom is about to. Yep.
Shocker.
What a surprise! We're in combat now. Let's see what Tom can do. Right. Okay. So the end of combat there. this combat knight. Let's have 2 large blasts from this knight here, and it's a Reaper chainsaw. And over here we had 1 large blast handed out there. So that is the last of the activations. We're now going to move on to damage, but there's been a lot of damage handed out by both parties here. So it's going to be interesting to see what survives and what falls. Let's find out.
Okay, so we finally finished turn 1. And we're just going to go through all the damage. We did roll it all off camera because there was quite a lot to go through. So, starting on this side of the board.
Critical.
Spartan is under critical because he's half wounded.
Critical.
We've got a critical Mortal Fiend.
Critical cultist.
The critical cultists.
2 wounds on this one of 30, so 30, they're not critical yet. Critical venom crawler.
Yep.
Damage defiler.
Defiler.
Damage Lord of Skulls.
Skulls. And I'll just come over to the middle here. We've got basically the knights. There's no one's critical, but we've got a couple of wounds on this one. A couple of wounds on this one. Got 2 on that one as well.
1 on that
and
one.
1 on the one on the end over here.
Storm Talon blew up.
Yep, 1 blown up Storm Talon.
Helldrake survived.
Yep.
No problem. 1 wound on the Khitan here.
We've got a critical wounded Dreadnought and also 1 blew up.
Yeah.
So actually, pretty non-eventful first turn.
Well, for you maybe.
I think Dom obviously had the more damaging shots, I think, at the end of that one. So basically, at the end of that turn, we're just going to check as we're here. We'll just quickly check who's got the score. So basically, the rule of the game is if the player with holding the more objectives gets a point.
Okay.
So I think that's definitely Dom.
Yeah. So currently, I'm holding 1, 2,
and
3, and that one's pretty contested in the
Yeah.
center.
So I think 1-0 at the moment after the first turn, but we'll now head on into the next turn, and we'll back in a moment.
Right. So here we are, beginning of turn 2. And down here, the reinforcements are turning up. We've got a detachment of Terminators that have come in the backfield behind the Wordbearer armour there. Very curious to see what this is, but I can pretty much guess. Elsewhere across the battlefield, everyone's put their tokens down. And the other thing to note is, in the backfield for the Imperial forces,
Quite similar tactic.
very similar tactic. All the Warp Talons and Raptors have come in here. Very large detachment, going to be doing some carnage. Once again, I guess what they're going to do. And that is it, really. So, I believe Tom has the initiative this turn.
Indeed.
So, let's find out what he's going to do. Right, so first off, Tom is going to activate this. Oh, there we go. So, an advance. So, what is he going to do? Is he going to try and deal with this lot? Hopefully not. Right, so let's find out what happened. Right, so Tom basically just moved across and fired everything here. So large blast and small blast on this squad of Raptors, large blast on this squad of Raptors, a large and a small on this squad of Warp Talons, a small one on those Warp Talons, and a small one on them. Also, there was a large blast put onto the Lord of Skulls from the Predator, and a large one on the Defiler there from, I believe this Land Raider here.
Yeah, it was Land Raider.
Yeah, so pretty good bit of damage kind of being dealt out there. So let's move on to Chaos. And what are they going to do?
And now for Dom's activation.
Ooh, bump.
Advance.
Advance.
So this is a Outrider or Vanguard?
The Vanguard. So
Yes.
these 4 are the Vanguard
Okay.
detachment.
So let's see what happens during this particular phase. Okay, so during the activation, they move forward, which has actually just left me in a slight dilemma with my guys at the back there. I should have been thinking a little bit further ahead. However, they did then, after moving forward, shoot all their las cannons and other weaponry into this knight, and they put another 2.1 blast markers onto it. So that's looking a bit dicey for him now. I see how he survives in the saving phase. However, that's the end of that action phase. So we'll now move on to my next activation.
Okay, so next activation, Tom is doing the right thing. There we go. So he's going for the assault, and potentially there, those Marines.
Oh no, nothing about potential.
But nothing, no potential. It's going to happen. Right. So let's see what Tom can do. Right. So over here, this squad of Terminators charged in, dealing 2 large blasts and 1 small to that squad of Chaos Marines. And behind the building here, 1 small was dealt out by this squad of Terminators. So the Terminators definitely moving towards the objective and taking on this battalion of poor Chaos Marines. So let's see what Chaos can do next.
Okay, so Dom's now activating the Lord of Skulls, and it's an assault. Woe and behold. So the Lord of Skulls came piling in, and after all the damage has been dealt, there's 3 large blast markers on that intercessor squad there. So I think they're going to be dead, but we shall see. They're quite tough. So that's the end of that action phase. We'll head on to my one now and see what I do.
Right, so time for Tom's activation, and he's come down here to the knights, and he has gone with a cheeky little advance there. Right, let's see what he's going to do. Right, so as we saw, he's activated these knights here. This one fell out of combat here, then decided to put a bit of firepower over into the fret in the corner here. Putting a large marker on that one and a small one back down here. Not a great deal of damage at the moment. We'll find out though. And in combat here, this knight has dealt one large blast to that one. This one here, however, dealt two large blasts onto that one. So could be nasty. I'm going to move on to Chaos and see what they can do.
Okay, so moving on to Dom's activation in turn 2, and here we go.
What are we going to do?
We have an aimed shot. So all these guys are getting +1 to hit and -1 to hit in combat. So let's see what happens. Okay, so at the end of this detachment's action phase over here, basically pretty much everything in here shot over at the Spartan and putting another 2 large and 1 small blast mark on it. There was an attempted shot from these guys over at the stern guard over here, however they did not manage to do any damage. So that Spartan's looking pretty shaky now, I think. So we're now going to head on into my next action phase and we'll see what happens.
So next to activate will be the flyers. Tom, what are you doing with these? Come on, a bit faster now. Here we go. Spin it over. There we go. So it's a general advance on the 2 flyers here. Let's find out where they're going to go. Right, so the 2 flyers decide to zoom across the battlefield here, behind this position and where the objective is. Fire some shots down into Sakaran. Unfortunately, there was only 1 large blast put onto the Sakaran there, so possibly more was required, but we'll find out in the damage part of the turn. So let's move on to Chaos.
So Dom is activating the knights. That is a shocking discovery there. Got into the assault mode.
There we go.
Although that knight is now being propped up by a rock, so I don't know how stable his leg is.
Well, your knight's about to find out.
Yeah, well, we'll see as my knight will be standing at the end of this turn, so it'll be fine. Okay, so Dom's knights piled in again, and we ended up getting 3 large blast markers on here and only 1 small one on there. Unfortunately, this knight, the combat knight, ironically, completely fluffed all its attacks. So not a good day at the office for him. However, we'll now head on to my next activation phase.
Next activation is over here on the Vanguard detachment. It's an advance, and as you can see there, Tom is not wearing any socks. Right, let's find out what his Marines can do. Right, so these guys, pesky lot, we're shooting into this formation down here, basically putting large blasts everywhere. So 2 large blasts are now on that one, 2 are on that one, 2 are on that one, large and small there, large and small there, and a large there. So a lot of damage has been dealt out. I was just saying to Tom, I might as well just split this detachment up now because we're probably going to fail some armour saves. So let's see what we can do as lone wolves. So I'm going to move straight into Chaos activation.
Okay, so Dom is now activating this nice little squad down here. And what are you going to do? Let me guess. Oh, it's an assault one. So, as you were saying earlier, he's going to have a little spread out here. So let's see what happens, and we'll come back in a moment. So as all the Raptors and Warp Talons swarmed over their targets, over here, this unit of Vanguard took 1 blast marker, so not particularly brilliant over there. However, on this side, the Diridio managed to take a large blast marker from these cheeky little Warp Talons around here. Unfortunately, though, the only other damage that we can speak of is this 1 blast marker here. So it wasn't particularly successful. We'll have to see what the damage phase holds for them, whether it's worth them trying to regroup or not. So anyway, back over to my activation phase. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to activate this battalion in the middle here. So we have an advance here. So this is going to be involving quite a bit of movement here. Because I'm going to have to spread out and try and kill as many things as possible, or at least put some damage on stuff. So back in a second. So obviously I'm going to do this recap here. Dom's not very happy, so he didn't want to make any comments on this particular thing here, because essentially, obviously he attacked in here, but unfortunately now this squad here has got 3 large blast markers on it. So is this one over here now. This one's obviously got 1 left, and this is basically all from the shooting / combat from in this squad here, on top of all the shooting I managed to do this turn. However, didn't do much damage over here, although we did manage to stack it up to 2 large blast markers. So not too bad. I think with a bit of luck, this entire formation might be coming off, but the Lord is still okay. Sorcerer is still fine. So it'll be interesting to see what he does if he hangs about. So that is the end of that action phase. We're now going to head on to the next activation for Dom.
My turn for activation, and for the World Eaters, guess what we're doing? Here we go. Right, so once everyone's moved and combat's been fought, another marker's been put on the intercessors there. I think that's 4 large blasts now on the intercessors. 1 large blast from the berserkers on the stern guard there. Moving across, this berserker squad got in there, doing 1 large, 1 small blast onto the centurions. And finally, the filer over here put 1 small blast onto the stern guard there. So let's see what the Marines can do for their activation.
Okay, for my next activation phase, we're going to do this squad down here, or this detachment here. So we're going to advance this. So I think I'm going to pull him away from the Khitan. I don't think we'll be able to outrun him, but we'll see what happens. Okay, so at the end of that activation there, the Dreadnoughts did actually manage to put on 1 large and 1 small blast marker there. So we're going to be back over to Dom.
Right, time for my activation, and we're going to do, guess what it is? Can you guess? Yep, there we go. So another assault. Here we are. Hopefully one of these guys will be gone soon. Right, so end of activation over here. Assaulted into both Dreadnoughts. Unfortunately, only 1 hit this one, only 1 hit that, and then we're only able to do 1 large blast onto that one there. So not too successful, although we are pushing the Marines further back. So move on to Marine activation.
Okay, so for my almost last activation for this turn, I'm going to do the Storm Sword over here, and we've got an aimed mark here. I think I'm going to take a pop at the Helldrakes back there, and just see if I can take them out of the air this time. I didn't do any damage from last time, because they just seem to just not want to die. Anyway, back in a minute with the damage. Okay, so the Storm Sword opened up into the 2 Helldrakes, putting the one over here onto 1 large, and the one over here onto 1 small. So not brilliant, but at the end of the day, it's still damage. So we'll now head over to Dom's, I think, final unit of activation for this turn. Is that correct, Dom?
It is.
Which is this nasty set of units over here. So obviously they've got some Terminators behind them. We'll see if they can maybe deal with them, or maybe move on. We'll see.
All right. My last activation this turn is a general advance here. So we're going to have a little look around and see what we can do. Right, so the end of that activation. So basically these guys consolidated in, Chaos Lord and Demon Prince managed to get in combat here. We've got 1 large blast there, it's not really enough to do much. Over here, the Marines were actually able to do a large blast onto that squad there. Down here, 1 small blast from both the Helldrake and Demon Prince onto the Chaplain. So not really enough, but a good counter-attack, just try and hold the Marines at bay for now. So that's my last activation. Now moving on to Tom's. So now Tom's last activation, which is the shooty one. Right, so it's +1 to hit, but he is critically damaged.
I'm hitting normally.
So yeah, essentially hitting normally here. So Tom, what are you firing at?
It's a good question. I think I'm going to put all my shots into this.
Into the Mauler Fiend, directly in front of it.
Yes.
Bit of a threat. Yeah, go for it.
So the quad las cannon, so
yep.
2 on each side.
Yeah, hitting on 3s. Yep.
And then we're wounding on 3s as well.
Yep, because of the quad.
So I'll say we've got
1 large, 1 small blast on there, and the heavy bolter.
While we're here. Yes, so actually both still hit, yeah.
Nice. And no, one has definitely got through there. So two large blasts on the Mauler Fiend, and that's it. So we're going to go and assess the damage, and we'll be back in a moment.
Okay, so as turn 2 comes to an end, there's been a little bit of an exit from the board for many units. Over in this corner particularly, we've lost a couple of Warp Talons, and was it?
2 squads of Warp
Talons, yeah, which were here and here. Also the Spartan also blew up. Didn't actually blow up, sorry, pardon me, it was removed from action.
2 squads of Raptors.
2 squads of Raptors over here. Unfortunately, it was quite a bad day for this squad, for this detachment back here, I should say. However, in the middle, the Marines took quite a pounding. We lost 3 squads of Marines here. So I think it was 2 Stern Guard and also a squad of Intercessors, which got absolutely pummeled. If we come back over this way, this is where a bit more action happened. Obviously, at the back here, the Terminators actually managed to, well, with the assistance of other things, managed to wipe out 1 unit that was attacking them here. Also, the Helldrake, which was engaged with the Chaplain, managed to be destroyed off a leadership in the end, actually. There's a bit of a luck there. The Khitan has hung in there quite well with just 2 wounds there. Didn't fail any leaderships or anything like that, so pretty good. However, as we move into the centre of the table, it gets a bit more messy here because essentially lots of stuff is now on very low wounds. So this back knight here has 2 wounds left, as does this knight on the end here, and this knight here as well. All 3 of the other ones are actually looking pretty okay, I think.
Centre one's not been hurt.
And the centre one's not been hurt, and this one's got 1 wound on it at the moment as well. So that's pretty much all of those for that turn 2. From a score point of view, Dom did actually kill a super heavy here, so he got 1 point for that, and also he still holds more objectives than me, so he gets another point for that. So I think that's 3-0 at the moment. However, we've still got a couple of turns to go, so we'll see how we are. And we're back in a bit with turn 3.
Right, okay, so we're now on to turn 3. Tom has won the initiative, so he is first to activate, and he has picked this Vanguard down the bottom here.
Well, you know what this is going to be, but oh look.
Oh, it's a chargy one. Right, okay, so let's see what he's going to do. Right, so Tom, what did he do? Well, he did honour the chapter on this squad of Terminators, letting them fight twice. So they did 1 large blast onto that Land Raider and 1 small blast onto that one. So not really too amazing, but unfortunately that's how it is. Down here, a bit of a mix-up, unfortunately. As I said, we haven't played Apocalypse before, so you can't have a mixed squad anymore. So we then decided to separate them. So the Thunderhammers went over that way, Lightning Claws went over that way as we kind of moved them into combat, and there's a Lightning Claw in there. So these things happen. 1 large blast on there and 1 small blast by the Lightning Claws. The Thunderhammers didn't do anything to these Chaos Marines, however. Over down here, Terminators still in combat, did 1 small blast to the Chaos Marines there. And that was it.
So you played Minefield.
Oh yeah, I played Minefield as well, so which was quite nice. Did a little bit of damage, but nothing too significant. And down here, the Chaplain fought against Demon Prince and was unable to do anything there. So we're going to move on to the Chaos activation and see what we're going to do.
Okay, so for turn 3 and Dom's activation, first one of the game.
World Eaters will be
Assaulting, bizarrely.
Yeah, there we go, let's
so
do it.
Let's see how this all ends up in the middle here. Okay, so as the melee erupts in the middle here, the World Eater is charged in. The head of the spear was a Khan over here. There was actually quite a bit of damage dealt by them. We had a large blast marker on this Crusader squad, so life not looking good for them. We've got 2 large blasters on the Centurion Devastators. We have a large and a small blast marker on the Hell Blasters down here. And also my Warlord / War Master has taken a large blast marker as well. So we'll have to see what happens in the damage phase, but obviously that's quite a lot of damage for infantry units, but we'll see how we go, and we'll be back in a minute with my activation.
Right, okay, so we're moving on to the Imperial activation now. So Tom has played 2 stratagems over here, or is it stratagems, or whatever you want to call them. So he's put Trophy Kill on to this one here, so he can reroll hits, attacks on this unit. And he's also put Oath Keepers on the Imperial Knights. Yeah. So I wonder which one he could be activating. Oh, look, there we go. So general advance here. Right, now let's see what he can achieve.
Okay, so the Knights here, obviously after activating all their bits and pieces, managed to do 4 large blast markers on here in combat, so that's pretty good against that Knight. Then we put 2 additional ones onto this one, yep. So he's now on 2 there. And the Knight at the back here then shot the battle cannon over at the Lord of Skulls. Did we do anything into that in the end?
No.
No, we didn't. He had a very bad shooting. Didn't even manage to get this target over here, which he shot at as well. So the only thing he did do was fire the Avenger Gatling cannon at the Berserker and got 1 large blast marker on there. So that's the end of the Knight's activation. Let's see what Chaos's next activation is going to be. Okay, so Dom is about to activate the detachment down here, which is going to be advanced. So a bit of choices on movement and shooting. Just to clarify over here, because obviously you can see they're quite spread out. They are not out of command because Dom played the behind enemy lines asset, meaning they're not affected by it for this turn. So we're back in a minute with what they've decided to do. Right,
so at the end of that activation, bit of a move around over here for this detachment. So Sorcerer casts Warp Time. So the Vulture and the squad of Raptors and the Sorcerer all had an extra movement. So the Raptors have engaged over here against these 2 Dreadnoughts. The Vulture, unfortunately, wasn't able to get into combat, but he's within command radius of everyone here, which is good. In combat, we did 1 small damage onto the Contemptor, nothing to the Ironclad there. 1 large onto the Reavers here, because these Warp Talons jumped over from combat and engaged in combat there, because I've got the fly keyword, they can re-engage. So they engage combat there. And over here, the sorcerer also cast Smite. We've got an 11, which is one large blast, or well, two blasts, which goes into one large, onto this squad of Vanguard veterans. And that was it. So we've done a little bit. We've regained a little bit of dignity. So let's see what Tom's going to activate next.
Okay, so for my next activation in turn 3, you're going to do this Vanguard squad here, or detachment, and it's going to be an advance here, so we're back in a minute with what I've done. Okay, so this detachment had a vaguely successful turn of combat, so the Reavers here all charged in, dealing one large blast marker and a small one, but however they were helped by the Ironclad there. And exactly the same over here, all these guys, so the 2 Dreadnoughts and the Lieutenant managed to put 2 large blast markers on there. And then this Diridio shot in this direction, putting 1 small blast marker on the Mauler Fiend and a large blast marker on that squad of cultists. Never know, the cultists might die this time. Right, Dom?
No.
No, apparently not. Can't happen. Indestructible. So that's my activation. We're going to do another Chaos activation now, back in a second. And Dom's activation is aimed fire. So we'll take a little while to sift through that because there's quite a few different unit types. So we're back in a minute with the results of the shooting.
Right, okay, so this whole detachment here fired up into the Cassius assault ramp here. So Sakaran opened up first, dealing 1 small blast up into this thing. The cultists also fired their auto guns kind of willy-nilly into the air, but it was down to the Vindicator that fired up a shell, hitting this thing square in the side, causing 1 large blast there. So hopefully that'll be enough to cause it to think otherwise. So let's move on to the next activation for the Imperial forces. So we're going to move on to Imperial activation now, and Tom is coming down here to the melee in the middle. And what is he picking to do?
Oddly enough, it's an advance.
It's an advance, right, okay. So what are the Imperial forces going to do to escape the World Eaters?
Okay, so as this detachment ends its advance move, we pulled most stuff out of combat just so we could tee up some shots hopefully in a minute. However, the ones that did stay in combat over here, well, it's the ones that shot, I should say, Incestors shot into here, putting a couple of markers onto this Berserker squad. That was in conjunction with some bolt pistol action here as well. And in combat, the Centurions there managed to put in 1 small blast marker there. Also at the back here, the Vanguards all piled into the Sorcerer here, managing to put 1 large blast marker on there in return for the one that they just received. So we'll see if any of that survives in a minute. We'll now move on to the Chaos activation in turn 3. There's Dom warming up for the reveal.
Ready?
And we have an advance. How anticlimactic. We'll be back in a minute with how they've moved and what they have done.
Right, okay, so after the activation, we moved the Helldrake out of combat, flipped round this side, and flamed in there. It was joined by the Squad of Chosen there, the Squad of Chaos Marines, and the Squad of Chosen up here, putting 3 large blasts on those Terminators. Hopefully that'll be enough to do something. We've got these 5 Chaos Marines, did 1 small damage back to the Terminators, the Hammonators. Down here, the Demon Prince just fluffed everything. Rerunning 1s is just apparently not a thing. Doesn't work in Apocalypse. And so nothing there, unfortunately. Same here with this Demon Prince, actually. Did nothing there. Although the Chaos Marines were able to turn the small blast into a large blast against these Terminators. Chaos Lord also nothing at all there. So not really that great for most of the squads, although the Lightning Claw Terminators look like they're taking a bit of a hammering and probably sustain a bit of damage in the damage phase. So that's that. Now let's move on to see what Tom is going to activate next for the Templars.
So as we go on to the next Imperial activation, I am going to activate this spearhead back here, and we have an aimed action here. So I'm going to hopefully use all of these lovely guns here to take out as many things in the middle as possible. We shall see. Okay, so after this spearhead has opened up fire into the middle here, the Lord of Skulls has received 2 large blast markers and a small. This Berserker squad has 2 large blast markers, and this squad at the front has ended up with 2 large and 1 small. So yeah, not a lot of decent damage. However, will hopefully help in this middle bit, thinning it out at the damage phase. So we'll now move on to the next Chaos activation. Let's see what Dom's going to do. Okay, so Dom has chosen to activate his Knights now, obviously seeing that the threat of this spearhead back here has been resolved, so he's gone for an advance.
Yeah.
Probably because he's a bit chicken.
Yeah.
So we'll see where they end up on the table and back in a moment.
Right, so at the end of that activation here, these two knights kept hammering old Greenie here, and of course 3 large blast markers on him there. And finally, this one here stepped back and unleashed hell upon this rear knight here, causing 4 large blasts on this critically wounded HQ knight.
Yeah.
Oh, who knows, maybe that one might die in damage phase. But we're going to move on to the Imperial activation. Right, so across the battlefield here, Tom has decided that it's time for the flyers to do something, and it's a general advance to the 2 remaining flyers in this detachment. And see what Tom can do.
Okay, so after the activation, both the flyers flew down this way, and the Storm Talon here fired all of its shots into the Morphine, bringing it up to 2 large blast markers of damage. And the Assault Ram here fired both its shots into the Lord of Skulls, bringing it up to 3.1 blast markers up there, so 3 large and 1 small. And that was all the shooting they had. So we'll now go to Dom's next activation. I think he's running out of units now. So I think actually, is it only the one Khitan left, or have you got?
No, I've got 3.
Oh, you've got 3 legs left. So which one are you going to do? Which one are you going to do?
I don't know yet.
Okay, we'll be back in a moment. Okay, so Dom is about to turn over the Lord of Skulls. Oh, look, it's an advance. So I guess he's going to do some shooting.
Yeah, he's not in combat, so he's going to do some shooting instead.
Fine. So that's unusual for a combat unit, but we'll see what happens.
Right, so Lord of Skulls decided to fire everything up into this assault ramp. Had the Gore Storm, which is an automatic hit against flyers. Unfortunately didn't do anything at all. So he just sat there, just shot into the air wildly as the flyers kind of strafe around the battlefield. So we're going to move on to the next Imperial activation. And let's see if they're able to do anything. It looks like it's probably going to be on that end of the battlefield.
Okay, so for my almost last activation for this turn, I'm going to flip over this one here. And we have an advance for these Dreadnoughts and the Lieutenant here. So let's see what they're going to do against the Khitan. Okay, so at the end of my activation phase here, these Dreadnoughts managed to do 1 large and 1 small. And in retaliation, Dom is activating the Khitan, which I'm assuming is the... Is it the assault one? No, it's the advanced.
But we're going to stay in combat.
We're staying in combat, so we're going to roll this one here. So
we've got 4 attacks. I'm going to put 2 on him.
2 on him.
1 on him.
And 1 on him.
And 1 on him.
So trying to get every Dreadnought out of the game.
Every Dreadnought dead. Right, so I'm hitting on freeze.
Yep.
Hit.
Hit. And double hit.
Double hit.
Ooh.
And then I'll be doing damage on 5.
So
it's a destroyer, so it's...
So 1 wound on him. Sorry, 1 large blast marker.
Yeah,
so
1 large on him. 1 on... that one.
Large on here.
And 2 on that one. That one's just got 1 large on him.
And 1 large on the final one. So that was pretty good. And that's the Khitan done, I presume?
That is the Khitan done, yes.
Fine. Well, in that case, I will be back in a minute with the next Imperial activation, which is going to be this over here. I'll go straight into it, actually. So we are activating this on an aim shot, and I'll be back in a minute with the results of the shooting. Okay, so the Storm Sword opened up with its main gun on to this knight over here, adding 1 more large blast marker to it. So I think it's up to 5 now. And then sweeping over this side of the board, the long-range las cannons fired into the Drake over here and took 1 more large blast marker on there. And then the heavy bolter quickly fired a couple of shots off over here, giving this small unit another large blast marker as well. So we're going to move straight over to the next one, because actually Dom's only got 1 last thing to activate, which is the thing here. So it's an advance on this squad here. So we're back in a minute and see what they actually end up doing. Okay, so this detachment activated here, as you can see, there's a lot more stuff on the table all of a sudden. That's because it was all these transports have exited all of their units, or deposited. So we had over here this Terminator squad running here and the Mutilators, and that's actually totted up 3 large and 1 small blast marker on them. Pretty effective combat, including the Lord now. I don't think he was...
Land Raiders.
Oh, and the Land Raiders as well did two of that actually as well.
Yeah,
I must
so
admit.
1.
The Plague Marines jumped out here, fired a few rounds into the Terminators here, increasing that. So the Plague Marines and the Rhino shot into this squad down here, adding another marker on. Other than that, though, that was pretty much it. That is the end of turn 3 for the action phase. So we're going to head on into the damage phase, and hopefully when you come back, there'll be a few less things on the board for both sides, or just chaos.
Right, so end of turn 3 after damage phase. Very devastating for both sides, really. So starting over here, the Khitan there destroyed 2 of the Dreadnoughts and got this one down to 1 wound. That's critical down there. Down here as well, these Terminators have taken damage. They are critical on there. These ones as well, critical, as seen before. Helldrake took a bit of damage there. These Terminators are critical as well. 1 wound was inflicted onto the Land Raider on there. Moving across However, into the centre, you will notice that 4 knights have disappeared this turn. So 2 of the Imperial Knights, 2 of the Chaos Knights have fallen. The Lord of Skulls also has vanished this turn as well, which blew up, taking a lot with it as well, so doing damage everywhere. So Defiler took a bit of damage from there. 2 squads of Berserkers also fell, which is quite nasty. Moving along down here, Squad of Cultists got ripped from the battlefield, red smear. Down here, Warp Talons have gone, Raptors have gone. Leaving the Vulture by himself, just with a Sorcerer there. The Sorcerer survived. But the Sternguard squad, no, the Vanguard squad, sorry, they have gone. Centurions have gone. Incessors have gone. Hell Blasters have gone. His command of the detachment's gone, so he's elected the War Master's gone. So the Chaplain is taken over in that aspect. So I believe the scores have changed somewhat, and we'll...
same amount of super heavies, eh?
Same amount of super heavies each. The War Master's gone for the Imperial Force. Actually, no, Chaos have lost 3 super heavies. Imperial have lost 2. So, yeah, the Chaos is still just taking the lead, but Imperial have got off the 0 score and moved up to, I believe, 3 points now. But let's move into turn 4 and see what can happen. Yes. Right, okay, so we're into turn 4 now. Orders have been placed across the battlefield. A couple of stratagems have also attempted to manifest themselves. Changed hands as such. I tried to cast Squire's Gaze upon Tom's detachments, which basically reveals his orders on 3 detachments. I can then change if I see fit. Unfortunately, no, he countered it with some sort of Black Templar anti-sorcery thing. So, Tom, you had the initiative. What are you going to reveal?
I'm going to go with the Knight. It's got that. I will also be playing
combat.
Tilt,
okay.
An additional 6-inch movement onto that as well.
Very nice. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so let's see where Tom is going with this Knight.
Okay, so what I decided to do with the Knight was actually got a 30-inch move, so I moved him all the way around the back here, charged the Khitan, didn't do any damage. In fact, I just failed to really hit, to be honest. Woo! So Dom's very happy. I'm quite sad. So that's command assets. The only other thing I did was I did do another asset over here where that marker is there. Anything within 6 inches, we rolled a d12. Anything that rolled over 6 got a blast mark. Unfortunately, only this one squad here managed to get that, and nothing else was damaged. And luckily, nothing also in my own men, which was a plus, I suppose. So that's the end of that one. We're going to move over to the next Chaos activation and see what Dom does.
It's the Knight.
It's the Knight. Did you want to turn it over then?
Yeah, there you go. Hello, Knighty Knight.
He's got an advance there. So let's come back and see what the Knight does. So the Knight barreled forward there into the side of this Land Raider, putting 3 large blast marks on it. A couple of assets were played. We had, I think it was Trail of
Destruction,
Trail of Destruction and Traitor's Mark. So I think the Trail of Destruction basically give it re-rolls, re-roll hits, and the other one was a -1 to leadership in the last phase, obviously. So it's over to me now. I think actually I'm just going to very simply walk over this way, and I'm going to activate this over here. And we're back in a minute with the results of this Dreadnought's combat. Okay, so at the end of the Dreadnought's combat there, unfortunately he did nothing. He is critically wounded. It was more just to try and get a wound on there if I could. So that's the end of that action, not action phase, the activation phase. We're now going to have a Dom's next activation and see what he's going to be doing next.
Right, so moving on to my activation, and we're going to come down here onto this battalion, and we're going to go for a general advance. See what we can do.
So after the activation phase, basically everything shot up at this flyer here mainly and put 1 small blast mark on it. However, the Vindicator decided to break from tradition and fire over here at the Derridio and actually put 2 large blast markers on it, which is a bit annoying. Anyway, we'll now move on to my next activation, and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, for my next activation, I am going to choose this detachment down here. Flip over to got an advance there. Hopefully going to try and get a nice easy Warlord kill. Never know, got to put some damage markers on him. And then I'll be back in a minute what we've done. Okay, so at the end of this activation for this detachment down here, the Vulture has taken a large and a small blast marker. And over here, Dom seems to have some impression he's got a card that might be annoying me later. Yeah, and then over here, the Vindicator took some damage from the Derridio, 1 large and a small marker. So we'll now move on to Dom's next activation.
Right, so after the conflict going on in the corner over there, we move across the battlefield to this fight that's just getting bigger and bigger. So let's see what the Chaos Forces are going to do here. This battalion is going to advance. Right, so let's find out what's going to happen. Right, okay, so after the activation, what we've done here is the tanks have rolled off across the battlefield just to get out of combat with the Terminators there. We also activated Profane Zeal. So basically that's just like reroll hits for the detachment down here. Also, it's good with leadership, which I'm possibly going to need. But anyway, Rubric Marines got in combat here. The Exalted Champion got in combat here. And so in total there, we've got 3 large blasts and 1 small blast there. So next up here, the Plague Marines fired their bolters into this squad here and did 1 large blast, which is quite fortunate there. So that is it. So it's pretty good going down here against the Terminators, although the Terminators still have to activate and have their fight back. So moving into Tom's activation.
Okay, yeah, so for my activation, I am going to activate the Terminator squad over here, or the Terminator detachment. So we've got an Assault one here, and I'm also playing a Righteous Seal, which basically, for the whole detachment, we add 1 to all the attacks characteristic cards in the unit. So obviously, these being critically damaged, that does actually help them get back up to normal. But we're back in a minute with the results of the ongoing combat. So at the end of this particular little assault phase here, the Terminators gave a large blast marker to the Mutilators. The Chaplain over here put a small blast marker on the Demon Prince. And over here, this Chaos Marine squad down here probably won't survive. Dom has given me a slow golf clap because everything was in quite a lot of attacks on such a small unit, but they've taken 3 large blasts and a small. So, and over here, this Marine squad took a large blast as well from these Terminators. So that is the end of my activation phase. We'll now head on to Dom's next one.
Right, so for my next activation, after Tom's done the Terminators there, we are going to come down here with Khan, and what a surprise, Khan can't control himself. Right, so let's see what the World Eaters are able to do. Right, okay, so the end of the activation for the World Eater detachment here. Berserkers charged in with the Defiler here, placing a large and a small blast on these Primaris Intercessors. Over here, this Defiler charged in with Khan. Defiler just fluffed all its attacks, but Khan there used Gorechild, putting a large blast on these 5 Crusaders there, so it's not looking good for them. And at the back there, we've got remains of what's left of the detachment, Defiler, and the Wolfsmith there, just, you know, relaxing. So we're going to move on to the next activation for the Imperial Scummers. Oh, and Tom is going to point over here and, oh, it's an advance. Yes. Right, let's see what Imperial Forces can do.
Okay, so at the end of that activation phase, I should say, all these Land Raiders and these 2 Predators shot in various directions, mainly at the Defiler here, putting 3 larges and a small on there. We also popped 1 large marker onto that Land Raider at the back. However, in other news, the Leviathan here charged in, fluffed both his attacks on a double 1. Can't really write that, so it's not looking good there. So anyway, we'll move on to Dom's next activation, and we're back in a moment. Okay, so Dom's next activation for Chaos.
Dun, 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 dun,
An advance on this little squad that's sitting in this ruin at the back here. So we'll back in a minute with what happened.
Right, so at the end of the activation here, not much has really happened, unfortunately. There's a small blast on these Terminators from the Marines and the Lord. Demon Princes in this activation have done pretty poor, unfortunately. These Chaos Chosen have come down from this building, and just to relocate, the Helldrake flew in here, doing 1 small blast to the Chaplain in combat. Across here, 1 small blast was done against the Hammonators by the 5 Chaos Marines there. The Chosen charged in here and did 1 large blast against those guys there. So they're kind of holding their own in the centre. Hopefully Terminator will take a bit of damage. But that is it for this detachment. Let's see what else Tom has got. So we're coming across the battlefield now. As you can see here, the Chaos Forces are pushed deep into the Imperial lines here, really kind of making the Marines pay. But also, in return, the Marines are, it's severe heavy casualties here for the World Eaters as the Marines are kind of pushing back as well. But across here, Tom is now activating this detachment. He is picking to advance. So let's see what Tom is going to do with these guys.
Okay, so the 2 flyers flew over this way, and I decided to target both the Land Raiders. However, Obviously, with this being on critical, it did fail its main shots at this Land Raider. However, its secondary one did actually take one small mark. Was it a large mark on there? Sorry, small marker. Oh yeah, sorry, pardon me.
Where you are.
Yeah,
Expected.
and then and then this Storm Talon fired the rest of its weapons into this one here, actually really stacking up the damage on that one. So hopefully that will convert to actually destroying it. But we shall see. So Dom, what's your next activation? Kaitan. So we're coming over here, and let's have a look at what is going to be revealed. Oh, look, it's an advance. So depending on what's going to happen here, we'll be back.
Well,
oh, you're going to say?
All my attacks on. No, I'm going to do 3 attacks on him.
3 attacks. Okay, we'll do these on camera.
4 attacks. Now let's do all 4 attacks on the knight.
4 attacks on the knight.
For his.
Oh no.
3 hit. And 5.
5's for destroyer weapon hits, I believe.
Yep.
So that'll be 3 large markers. And that's it for him, yeah?
That's it for him, yeah.
Fine,
That's
okay.
an easy one.
So we're back in a moment. Okay, so for my last activation for this turn, before we go to Dom's last activation, I have done an aimed shot on this thing again as well. So we're just going to have a few shots of this and see if we can peel off a few more wounds. Okay, so after this has fired off all of its rounds, the las cannons went into this Land Raider, bumping it up to a large blast marker. The main cannon went into the Plague Marines here, putting 2 large blast markers on it, which is quite a nice weapon there, and also the heavy bolter went there, but did nothing. So that's everything for my turn 4. So I think Dom over here has one last activation to make, which is over here. Actually, I'll tell a lie, I do have one more to go as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so advancing the Vulture to see if he can get away. Okay, so the Vulture's activation was to go up to his chicken perch, which is up here. As you can see, he's run away from everything. He may just start there very lonely, potentially, due to his damage. We'll find his body. And the Sorcerer did actually try to attack over here, but actually didn't do anything. And I did just realise when I was coming over to film, I hadn't actually activated this detachment yet, so I'm just going to do that now. And this is I think this is the last one for both of us for this turn. So that's an advance there, so we're back in a minute. So it's probably going to be a bit of combat. Okay, so in my final activation for turn 4 here, and for the whole of turn 4, the chaplain here jumped over and tried to hit Kar in the back, but did nothing, and so did the Crusaders and did nothing. The Vanguard over here managed to put a large blast marker on the Sorcerer here, and over here these guys put 1 small marker onto these Berserkers. So we're just now going to move on into the damaging phase, and we'll see who comes out of it alive. Okay, so as we cut back to the end of turn 4 to a much emptier table, let's just quickly go through a few highlights. So down here, the Vulture, obviously he disappeared up here, and he managed to survive.
Yeah, so he had a lucky escape, whatever the stratagem is, which took away the blast, and then he survived past the other blast.
Past the other ones. We had a little double knockout over here. We had the Derridio glow up, but we also had the Mauler Fiend blow up, correct? Yeah, so they're now gone. Was there anything else hiding in this area that was gone? I think there was a cultist squad, wasn't there?
That was the previous turn.
That was previous turn, so that's nothing there. So Defiler in the middle here died after taking a lot of damage. Sorcerer died. As we move over, I'm just going to come right around here. Actually, it's a bit easier to get an angle on the shot. So obviously we lost a Land Raider there, and obviously Dom also erred with his out of command there, and I think unfortunately lost another Rhino. So that one is gone as well. And over here is where the proper carnage happened. I think I've lost both 2 Terminator squads. There was a Plague Marine squad that died.
Yeah,
2 Chaos Marine squads died. Other than that, though, I'll just get rid of these markers as well because this is all resolved and they were fine. So actually, yeah.
You lost your intercessor.
Oh, sorry, there was an intercessor in the middle there.
They died.
And also there was a squad, another one in there as well. I think actually that Crusader squad should have come out, Dom.
Oh yeah, the Crusader squad.
Pardon me, yeah. So that's actually just going to come out now. I forgot to pick up the things. They're dead as well. But other than that, I think that is the end of turn 4. So the board has really sort of slimmed down a bit now. I actually can't really tell where the side lines, but points wise, sadly, Dom has got another point for holding more objectives. How there was no more other points because no other super heavies had died. So we will be locked at, I think, what's the total scores now, Dom?
Scores at the doors. 7-3 to Chaos.
7-3 to Chaos at the moment with the last turn looming. So I'm going to have to do some proper work to try and bring them up to an even level at least. So we're back in a minute with turn 5. Okay, so as we commence turn 5, we rolled off for initiative and Dom got the higher initiative, so he'll be going first. Then he'll just go over the battlefield so you can quickly see the state of play. So obviously all the markers have been placed down, all the units marked out of command, etc, etc. I did try a command asset of setting up, bringing back reinforcements, but I failed on my power level roll. You didn't do any assets, did you, Dom?
No, don't need to.
So here we go, let's delve into turn 5. Okay, for Dom's first activation, it's the World Eaters, and we're going to have a, oh look, an assault. That is highly unusual. So let's see what happens with his Corn Brigade. Okay, so at the end of Dom's activation for his Corn Brood, over here we have put one large blast marker on the Vanguard, one large blast marker on the Land Raider, and one large blast marker on the Chaplain, courtesy of Khan. Quite painful, but you know, he'll get his just desserts in a minute when the Chaplain smacks him in the face. So,
or a skull.
Or a skull. Yeah, I mean, Chaplains do carry skulls. So,
yeah, they do. They're in their helmets.
Yeah. So anyway, it's now over to my activation.
Right, so we saw there the World Eaters got into combat here, but now Tom is going to activate this for his heavy detachment here. So it's in advance.
Yes.
What's he going to do? Let's find out. Right, okay, so at the end of that activation here, Tom basically pulled out of combat with the Leviathan there. The rest of the tanks kind of moved up on this flank to get close to the objective, which is just down there, just in front of the Land Raider and just behind the Knight. All these weapons here, everything fired into the Knight there, causing 2 large blasts on him there. And also Land Raider here remained in combat against his defilers in some sort of futile attempt to do something. Unfortunately, it did not pay off. So we're going to move over to Chaos's next activation.
Okay, for Dom's next activation is this. This is a Vanguard, isn't it?
No, this is yeah, it is a Vanguard.
It is Vanguard,
sorry,
yeah.
my bad.
That's right. An advance.
An advance.
So let's see where all these units end up in a second. Okay, so over here, obviously this unit activated and is now shot and fired all its weapons in this general direction in some kind of vendetta against these poor Terminators in the middle. They have accumulated 4 large blast markers. That was basically from I think it was a command asset you used.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
you used Demon Shell, roll a 12.
Demon Shell rolled a
So
12.
it's
2 large blast markers. Other than that, though, we had like some flamers come in, some other weapons come in here, and also the las cannons fired at my las cannon layer and put a large and a small blast marker on it. So pretty successful round of shooting. Anyway, we'll go over to my next activation.
Right, so we're coming over here. Tom's got his flyers. He's going to activate them.
There we go.
It's a general advance for these two. What are they going to do, Tom? They're going to move over here, maybe. No pressure.
About here, just so they're in range of this.
And then there's going to be some firepower coming into the Knight there. Tom's definitely very threatened by this guy for some reason. I don't know.
Objective.
He's been sat in Tom's deployment for pretty much 4 turns. Yeah, quite happily. All right, so we're going to find out what Tom's going to do to him. I'm going to guess not much. And we'll be right back.
Okay, so in that round of shooting, I fired all the weapons from both of these at the Knight and got quite lucky there because we had another 3 large blast markers to it, so that's pretty good. Hopefully it'll be enough to kill it because I'm running out of weapons to shoot at it. So we're back in a minute with Dom's next activation. Okay, for Dom's next activation, he's gone for the Knight. Dun, 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 dun. An advance, so I'm hoping he's going to run away.
Yeah, oh yeah, definitely.
That's good, that's what I wanted to hear. Okay, so we're back in a minute with him running away. Okay, so the Knight charged in and yeah, gave it 2 large blast markers on it. So the Land Raider's looking a bit dicey at the moment.
Yeah.
But well, hopefully it'll survive. But you know, it's kind of my only thing I can get a point on at the moment. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, for my next activation, I'm actually going to come over here and I am going to do my Knight next as well. So I'm going to flip that over. So it's just an advance. So I'll be back in a minute with the results of that combat. Okay, so the Knight, again, did not really live up to its kind of potential, but it did manage to put 1 large blast marker on the Khitan. So we're going to have to rely on other things. Dom, your next choice.
I'm gonna do the Khitan.
The Khitan is going on next, so I wonder what that's got.
Oh, you'll see.
An assault.
Yeah. So we're going to do...
I think we'll stay filming for this one.
Yeah,
so
why not? Let's see if we can get it all down. So I am going to do all my attacks against your little Knight because he's petulant.
And he's only got 2. He's already taken 2 wounds as well. So
yeah, here we go. So freeze.
3s.
Oh no.
2 hits.
Then 6s.
Nothing.
Nothing. Oh no.
Oh dear. Well, that was a bit of a crap fight between both of them. We'll now move on into my next activation phase. We have a small correction at the end of that fight. Actually, the Khitan did wound 1 on a 5 because we didn't realise it was 5s and not 6s. So that is now going on now. So he has taken a large blast marker. However, for my next activation, I'm actually going to come over to this side of the board and I am going to activate my Vanguard and they have the assault option there. So let's see. Oh, let's also include the Chaplain. Let's see what they can manage. Okay, so the Vanguard and the Chaplain piled into Khan and managed to do 1 large blast marker. You never know, might get a kill. Probably not, but we shall see. Dom, your next activation. Do you know what it's going to be?
Yeah, I'm going to activate. I'm going to activate these guys down here.
So we're coming over to this side of the table, and I'm going to go with an assault probably.
Are you ready for this?
Just for the. Oh no, you went for an advance.
Yeah, here we go.
Okay, so let's move these on to the objective.
Oh, already there.
So this massive battalion over here moved down this left-hand side of the board here, and also into the middle here, trying to get hold of that objective. Quite rightly so. And the firepower was directed at these two Reaver squads, ending up with one with a large and a small, and one with two large blast markers on it. So pretty devastating for them. I'm not optimistic they're going to survive. However, that is all of that for that particular activation. So I'm now going to move over and do my next activation, and I'm actually going to pick over here to do the stuff in combat with the Khitan, and let's see what happens. Okay, so at the end of that round of combat, we did nothing. We did actually manage to hit, but didn't manage to do any wounds. And Dom has informed me reliably that the next move is for the chicken in the roost.
Vulture is going to
advance.
Advance.
So I wonder where he's going. Did you want to just...
Yeah, I'm going to move him. So it's a 12-inch movement. We're ignoring vertical distances because Apocalypse have got it right. We are going to come straight down here.
And he has hidden himself.
No, he's
tactically retreated?
Rallying the troops.
Rallying the troops, okay. Otherwise known as chickening out. So that is the end of that activation. Now we'll come over to my next one. So for my next activation, we're going to do this little Vanguard squad down here. Going to flip this over. We've got an assault on here. So let's get these guys moved and let's see if they can do anything to probably the Defilers.
Right, so Tom activated this slot here. And basically they charged over towards the Defiler, only two of which are members of the detachment were able to get in, the HQ element there and one of the Dreadnoughts. Both hit and then fumbled their attacks, tragically. So they're going to take a bit of damage and damage phase, but unfortunately weren't able to do anything. Now it's on to my last activation now, because I've activated everything. The battlefield is looking very sparse now in the last turn. We've got Chaos units back here holding two objectives there. Moving over here. These guys have been holding this building for a long time, and now it's time to activate them, see if they can have one last hurrah before it's all over. So let's find out what I've done. It's an advance on this detachment down here. Let's see what they can do. Right, so at the end of that activation there, this Demon Prince flew into combat with the Terminators. Played the stratagem Death to the False Emperor. So hit rolls are on a D12 rather than D6 against these Terminators, which is quite handy with the Chosen there as well. We did an additional large blast to this squad here, so now we've got 4 large blasts on them. Down here, the fight continues, and only one small blast was taken up against that chaplain there. He somehow survived heroically throughout this whole conflict. And down here, you've got the last Chosen squad and the Lord just hunkering down in that building there. So that was my last activation. Let's move on to Tom's.
Okay, so I have 2 more activations left to go, and we're going to do this one first. So we have an aimed shot from this Storm Sword. It's going to fire hopefully over in that direction. Let's see what happens. Okay, so in his last round of shooting, the Storm Sword fired over in this direction, firing the 2 Lazes and the Heavy Bolter at the Land Raider, putting a small blast on it. And then over here, we took 2 large blasts on the little champion chap down here, who's probably hopefully going to die. And now we'll head straight on into my last activation, which is over here, which is an assault with this last guys, well, last 2 guys here I've got left. And let's see if they can just tally up a couple of blast markers. Okay, so the Hammonators struck back and managed to do 1 large blast marker to the Chosen there. And obviously over here, the Chaplain fought the Demon Prince, putting a small wound marker on it as well. So nothing really happening there. That is actually the end of turn 5, and we're going to call the game there, but we're going to be back in a minute after on the damage, and then we'll show you what the scores are. So back in a few moments.
Right, okay, so the end of the damage phase in turn 5 here. Let's go a quick recap of what fell. So down here, both of the Reaver squads fell. Too much damage, they've gone. The Vanguard squad, they fell as well. And down here, the Land Raider just about survived there, still going. As well as a Chaos Knight here, we used our Rotate Iron Shield to take one of the blasts away, but unfortunately still we are critical with 1 wound left remaining there. The Land Raider there pretty much shrugged off all the damage, and down here as well, The Knight saved everything actually, and down here Kaitan also saved everything. Across in the middle though, down here the Terminators fell. Tom used a stratagem to double their results, but of course ones always fail, and they fell unfortunately. A good move, didn't pay off. The Chosen also got hammered to death. The Exalted Champion fell there as well. So a lot of casualties in the 5th turn. Battlefield is looking a lot clearer. Templars are pretty lucky and they're holding this back corner still. A big row of iron holding the line there. Chaos still surging forwards. But at the end of the game, the final score is Chaos have scored 8. Imperium forces have scored just 3, unfortunately. So it's a pretty strong Chaos victory at long last. Chaos forces have won. And it's been quite an interesting game. For our first game of Apocalypse, it's been interesting. My man of the match, I'm gonna pick Khan down here. Because normally in my normal Apocalypse games, Khan is targeted very quickly and disposed of. But he has led his World Eaters from across the battlefield down there, all the way here, almost touching the board edge here, and still with some Berserkers alive, the Warpsmith with him. Khan has hacked through a couple of squads, and his rerolls have really helped with the assault down here. Tom, have you got a man of the match or model of the match?
My assault ram.
The assault ram.
Because it has actually literally come back to where it started.
Yeah, it has.
5 turns. It flew all the way to that side of the table.
Yeah.
All the way back, and it did actually put quite a lot of wound markers down.
Yeah, so yeah, really nice model. It's come across the battlefield. The battlefield's looking so clear now. The mere mortals, the cultists, are still swarming about everywhere, but Astartes lie dead everywhere. So guys, that was a battle. First game of Apocalypse. Stay tuned. Myself and Tom are just going to have a quick little recap on our thoughts of Apocalypse, and we'll be back with you.
Got to cut that out, right?
Yeah, right. Right, so we have just finished our first game of the new Warhammer 40,000 Apocalypse, and of course, it was a Chaos victory.
Of course it was a Chaos victory. I'm not so sure I agree with the of course bit.
It's about time we won.
I mean, I suppose
Apocalypse
in the new Apocalypse rules, it was your first win.
Well, it's 100% Chaos victory so far. But yeah, it's a Chaos victory for Apocalypse. But we're going to talk about the new Apocalypse that Games Workshop released, and not what we've done in the past.
Yes.
So it's the first time we've played that rule set.
Indeed, yeah.
So it was
first time we even looked at it, really.
Yeah, first time we even looked at it. We've watched a couple of videos online, as you all have by now, and so we had a rough idea what we're doing. Had to read through. The rules were laid out quite well.
Yeah, reasonably well.
Yeah.
So there's a few things that I think we didn't do correctly.
Yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve, as you can see from the beginning when we're going through our armies. Possibly I was going through my war gear, which now we'll talk about in a moment.
Yes.
No point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an easy rule set to learn.
Yeah.
Within one game, we'd pretty much got it.
Got it down.
Which is quite interesting. So Tom, out of 10, what would you rate the new Apocalypse for your point of view?
From my point of view, I would probably give it a 7.
A 7?
Yes.
Okay.
A 7.
Alright, okay, why a 7, not a 10?
Right, well, there's obviously quite a few reasons for this, obviously. I think, as much as I like the way the damage is done in this particular format, I did feel it took away from instantaneous gratification. That's when you shoot something, you have to wait until the very end of both people's back and forth for something to actually happen. So I felt there was a bit of a disconnect while playing. Yes. In that, which was a bit kind of like, oh, I've got to wait to see if I've done that. Obviously, that is part of the game, so I'm not trying to, that's more of a personal. Personal. Yeah. For me, and as much as I understand why they've done it, to prevent stuff from going, oh, this is blown up, you can't use it now. That's fair enough. But I do feel it lost a bit of kind of like fun in the middle of the game while you're playing. And I thought actually maybe if they'd just done the alternate turning, that would have solved part of that problem anyway. Okay. So I don't know what your views are. Yeah. The damage aspect, I liked the new dynamic where you suddenly have to look at, do I put more shots into the unit to guarantee a kill, or do I kind of gamble this
which is, you know, an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But I completely understand the idea of you just want to make sure that is dead before we move on.
And as I said, that's just the way the game is. So it's not something that I think, you know, is wrong necessarily. But for me, I think I prefer being able to know what you've done right there and then.
Personal preference.
Personal preference, really. For that one. So and that's just that's just the way it also. Along that with that, you have the stratagems that are mixed in that can prevent damage as well in the damage phase and stuff like that. I'd like the stratagem. Well, it's command asset, I should say. Sorry, I liked the command asset part of it. I think that was quite cool because that was quite strategic, especially towards the end of the game when we realised how to sort of use them more effectively.
Yeah. So that was I really enjoyed the command asset cards, building the deck beforehand. And then randomly having them throughout the game, which is great because normally in your normal 40k games or your old school Apocalypse, you'll end up kind of playing. You know what you've got and when you're going to use it,
and you would pre-pick ones that you know you have, and there wouldn't be any restriction on when you could use it other than what was on the card.
Yeah.
There's no drawing them, for instance. So you just have that deck, you can use them, and that's the difference. But I think that was actually the way they've done it now is a better way.
Definitely. I think it adds to the chaos of war quite a bit, doesn't it? It's kind of like you don't know necessarily what's going to happen. All sorts of kicking off everywhere. People are getting their faces kicked in or shot off, and next thing you know, you're able to do some sort of amazing ability. An orbital strike comes in from different parts of the
I used
battlefield.
quite a few of them, as you probably noticed, because in the game I think there was about 3 or 4 that you were able to pick up in a combined Imperial army.
Yeah, which I thought was weird because I didn't have a single one that had any kind of area effect damage.
That brings me to my next point. If you are going to play Apocalypse, make sure you get 2 sets of cards.
Yeah.
Don't have one. It doesn't work because as much as you can share the cards, I was trying to work out how they meant you to do that, and even reading the instructions they had now, I wasn't really sure how you share certain cards.
Yeah, almost. You've got to have like first dibs, haven't you? You've got to like pass the deck to and fro, and then your opponent can work out. He's taken that.
Yes.
Right, okay.
It's actually what we did.
Yeah.
We got to the point where, because you have 30 cards each, and that was actually quite difficult to do on a shared set of cards.
Yeah.
And I think they had something where you had a shared pool, but I wasn't sure how you
share
that to 2 enemy players. It didn't really make a lot of sense. So.
Yeah, what you guys didn't see was us. I at one point, and Tom as well, we just lost patience. So we put all the cards down and just shuffled them up. I went, I'm taking these 5 and Tom's taking them.
Because even the ones you couldn't use, because obviously we did stick to the ones that we were allowed to use.
Yeah.
We took all the stuff that was non-relevant to ours, but you do have a lot of cards that let you just have a re-roll of the dice instead of actually using the ability on the card.
Yeah.
So they're not all a total waste.
And also the good thing about the cards, I thought as well, was you got the command asset, so it'll be Night Lord specific, for instance, and then at the bottom it would be any Chaos player can use this as a reroll. So it's quite nice that you have got that secondary option on your card. You're not necessarily pigeonholed into that one kind of action.
Yeah, that's very true. So another thing that I thought was quite good was the way that you issued your orders and how that led into how the movement and the sort of phase actually happened.
Yes.
Because that was putting down your 3 counters of different types.
Yep.
So you had obviously got your assault, you've got your aiming, and you've got your advance.
Yeah.
I liked
definitely
the way that actually worked because it gave a little bit of cloak and daggerness about what you were going to do, and also at the beginning I think we both thought that wouldn't make a lot of difference, but as we played we realised actually how you ordered the way you did things actually could have quite an impact on how you play, because movement becomes the more important part because it can prevent things being where you expect them to be.
Yeah, it was
around to your turn.
All about timing, wasn't it? Really, like we had points in the game which probably reflected in the battle report where you kind of wanted to play certain activations last in case, for instance, someone would pull their super heavies out and then they're targetable by something else. So you kind of had to kind of move it about a bit. Yeah. And I think definitely for me, I don't know about you, but it highlighted the importance on how you made your detachments.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Putting stuff together that works the same way, very important.
Yeah, so I think generally your army was better put together than mine because you had that organisation. I was just like, I'll put these in, and I'm betting that's going that, and these guys are in there. And it was like, there's a few formations where my World Eaters are all one, my Raptors and Warp Talons are all one, but then I have my battalions are all mixed up everywhere. And but I think your army was a lot more organised than that.
Yeah, because I mean, literally, I just think because of the way my Templars are organised, I have a lot of each type of unit as well. So if I have heavies, I can put quite a lot of heavies in a particular thing. that was, for instance, I may have used my land raiders probably wrongly, but that was only really realised towards the end of the game. Actually, using them as transports probably would have been a much better idea than kind of a gunline thing. But
which is another interesting point, that I think assault armies in this apocalypse are amazing. I think they're really good. So my world eaters, normally in a standard game that you may have seen in the past, if not, go back, watch our previous games and have a look. My world eaters tend to definitely have a hard time getting into combat. But in this, because of the double movement through the assault, you're getting in combat very quickly.
Yeah, if you make that choice to do an assault, you know that's you're going to get at least close.
Yes, definitely.
Obviously, you shouldn't be making that choice if you can't make it anyway, because it's just pre-measure.
Blood for blood,
okay. It's all right.
Blood for blood.
Yeah, but yeah, so that was quite. I like that particular aspect. But anything sort of.
Well, I'd say that detachment's very interesting. In reflection, I would have definitely changed them and how they worked. I think super heavy and knights were very interesting, which brings me on to how I think they developed the game. I think myself and Tom, I don't think we're the ideal target market for this apocalypse. I think, I may be wrong, but I think the way Apocalypse is aimed is at the casual gamer, your club gamer, and you'll just say to your mate, do you fancy an Apocalypse game?
Yeah.
This many power level, and just bring your super heavies.
Yeah, super heavies are definitely more fun to use in this particular one because they tend to. I think they lasted longer. I felt, depending on how, unless someone really committed to actually bouncing off the board, because they have obviously the highest wound count of everything on that board, really.
Yeah.
You know, which will bring on another point in a minute, but I think the super heavy usage and how they survive was a lot better.
Yes.
In this particular, I think actually in a normal game, some of those super heavies would have been dead very quickly in comparison because of the way it worked, because the way the blast markers work basically, and that's how.
Definitely, definitely the way. But I think generally the new Apocalypse is very streamlined, so you can get it through a game in an evening if you'd played it enough. Yes. I think first time playing it, obviously
we took a bit longer, but there was also other things going on, and it was just when we get the little rule set down, and also you may have noticed we changed filming style about second turn, I think.
Yeah. Because
we realised filming every dice roll.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah. So we've got some key roles and how the game I think is portrayed, and hopefully that's come across nicely. So Tom, what would you rather? It's not a normal would you rather.
I'm worried about the question now.
Yeah. Would you rather play your new Games Workshop Apocalypse, or would you rather have a mega battle, which is standard 40k rules?
Personally, I would play normal 40k rules for a large battle.
Yes. Why is that?
Basically, there's one very big factor which we hadn't got around to, which I think is relevant to this point, is characters.
Yep.
I felt characters in the current new version of Apocalypse are actually basically next to useless, other than leadership.
Yep.
You know, they get. Some of the Demon Princes one attack, wasn't it? Or something?
There wasn't many attacks.
Yeah.
It wasn't many at all.
And also the fact that even when they hit something, most of the time, I think it was an 8, so they were wounding on a 12-sided dice on most targets, and I felt characters lost a bit of kind of fun to them. And the whole leadership thing, in comparison, became a very although leadership is actually very important in the new Apocalypse, because actually you lose units if you don't have leadership, which is something I'm a little bit debatable on whether I like or not, because it essentially you have to have all your detachments. So I understand why, because they want to try and keep those detachments in a very tight bubble. But from a point of view playing normal 40k, I think, from my point of view, I think I got more fun out of playing that way rather than.
I think what I get from that, Tom, is I think New Games Workshop Apocalypse is like reading about an epic battle in a history book.
Yeah.
Normal 40k Apocalypse games or large scale Warhammer games, it's almost like reading a fictional book.
Yes.
Where you've got these heroic characters like beyond proportion, and they're doing this stuff amongst this massive battle. And Apocalypse, the new Apocalypse, is There are characters, but they will not feature heavily in this.
Yeah.
They are key, you know.
We found they just slugged it out for almost the whole.
Yeah, they really do much.
I think Khan was the best one because he had Destroyer on his profile.
Yeah. So there's large blasts going on people. Yeah. He hacked his way through.
Whereas the Chaplain versus a Demon Prince, which normally in normal games, in all seriousness, the Demon Prince pretty much wins every time.
Oh, it's got more.
They stood, I think, 3 turns toe to toe.
Nothing really happened. No, it wasn't good. And the Vulture, as always, had to run away and hide. But with one attack, he wasn't going to do much against like a massive vanguard of Marines. So yeah, characters definitely took a bit of a back seat, in my opinion, of this.
And I think obviously what you mentioned was war gear.
Yeah.
As well,
where's the war gear gone, guys? Where is it? I'm asking you.
But I think both the examples we've got here, my one would be, say, Stern Guard.
Yeah.
And yours would be your Chosen?
My Chosen.
Yeah.
They had nothing really.
So I had a load of plasmas in mine, can't use them.
Yeah, same mine. You had no plasmas. You basically had chainsaws and bolt pistols for Chosen. There was nothing. No. Really.
No, I dislike that customization gone.
Yeah.
Which isn't there now.
It does make some units almost pointless taking. For instance, my Raptors, for Raptors, for instance, you try and load them up in a reasonably functional way, as in they've got melter guns or plasma guns, and they come in and do their stuff. In Apocalypse, you've got bolt pistols.
Yeah.
Doesn't really work, which is a bit of a shame. I think they definitely missed a trick on that one.
Yeah. And I think the other thing regarding the war gear is also, I did find learning the new stats a little bit, I don't know, not difficult, but they seemed a bit all over the place for certain things. And the unit cards were helpful. I did feel like it was, because typically in these games you're playing with so many units.
Yeah.
You kind of have to pre-prepare all the cards for that detachment before you even start.
Yeah,
which is fair enough, and that's a preparation thing. But it did feel sometimes we were like, got to find this one, got to find this one, and it just felt quite.
I think during the game we spoke about it, that if you played it again, you'd have your detachment, and then for each detachment you could almost have an A4 bit of paper with all the rules of that detachment on there. Because in normal 40k Apocalypse, I tend to put post-it notes in my book, flip quick and back and forth as I need to.
The other bizarre thing was obviously with the heavy rule and certain other rules, there was this big piece of blank space on the card.
Yeah.
And we found, what does this rule do? We actually had to go and again look it up in the book on top of having the data card.
Yeah.
I think you've got the cards. Why not just have it in there? And
yeah.
The other thing with the cards, of course, is also, why not put Emperor Champion in there, Crusader Squad in there, all the things. I bought the Space Marine one, obviously, because I play them primarily. Obviously, you've got the Chaos one.
Yeah.
But there was key units that I use a lot, which are in the Codex, which weren't even on a card.
Yeah.
You have to download them separately, but they are in the actual Space Marine downloadable thing. But they're inside the same card pack that you bought, so I find it very bizarre that they weren't included. In a
definitely.
Yeah.
As for myself, though, I would probably we're not a bit of a tangent there. I would probably, out of preference, play the large 40k game, but I wouldn't be against if I went to a club and they were arranging an Apocalypse game, playing Apocalypse, because it is straightforward. But then again, I would, like we said during this video here, I wouldn't take infantry. Although cultists were cool, because they're very durable when you've got 40 of them or whatever, and you're going up the battlefield and you're like, 30 of them, and you're going up and you're taking wounds. The super heavies are the way to play the game.
Yeah.
And maybe...
Tank super heavies, I think.
Tanks,
vehicles. Yeah, a lot of, the troop stuff did feel a little bit lackluster.
Yes.
Because they don't do a lot of damage.
You've got no customisation, you're basically bolt guns.
Yeah.
If you're playing...
Everything's normally got 1 to 2 wounds, which is obviously fair because they're infantry. But it does feel like they're quite vulnerable to anything.
Yes.
Whereas tanks and stuff have a little bit more survivability, but and a better save, obviously, because most infantry, I think, had a 6-up save, didn't it? Really.
Yeah. Yeah. On a D12.
On a D12, which is
on a D6. Unless it's a large blast.
Large blast, exactly. So they've got that little twist as well, which is.
We've retained so much information.
It is in here somewhere. Obviously, as you've watched obviously I haven't watched the video you can obviously make your own judgment and see what you thought of how we played. But I think, while we had fun, I think if we were going to do another Apocalypse-based video, we'd probably be using what we normally do.
Yeah.
I think.
Put your comments below, guys. If you'd rather see us have a next big game, because we love big games, I know you guys love big games, will you rather use the standard 140,000 rules and kind of get everything on, customising stuff everywhere, characters doing their stuff, or will you rather see an Apocalypse game with the alterning activation, etc.?
Yes.
Let us know what you think. Please put a comment below. And if you guys have played Apocalypse by now,
Yeah, we could too. Yeah.
let us know what you think.
Yeah.
What were your findings? How do you find the game?
Yeah.
But I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's all good. So I hope you've enjoyed obviously watching the game and listening to our comments on it. And as I said, any comments below are more than welcome. And as usual, if you like what you watched, give us a sub, hit the like button.
Yeah, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah.
So this is Tom and Dom from BlackToad Studios. Take care, we'll see you next time.